Hey guys, did you know that I have a Patreon where you can support me and plus get awesome rewards? Or if you're thinking to yourself, but Julian, I want even more bang for my buck while still supporting you, you can pop over to my Redbubble and check out my awesome store with new designs appearing regularly. But for now, enjoy the video you're about to watch. It's me, Julian Greystoke. I'm here with another book review for you today. That book is Kiss of Deception. And this was a book that I wasn't planning actually to read. For a long time I was like, I had heard enough about it, and I had heard enough of the conflicting reviews that I was like, this isn't going to be for me, I'm not going to like this book. But then a booktuber whom I appreciate was like, no, really, give this book a chance. At least it's a guilty pleasure read. It's better than everyone's saying it is. The main character's better than everyone's saying she is. Give this book a chance. And I was like, well, since you said it, I will try this book out. How did it go? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today, aren't we? What is Kiss of Deception about? Kiss of Deception is about a girl, is she a princess? I think she's a princess, who's going to be married off to what she assumes is a crusty old man in the neighboring kingdom, and she's like, no thank you. So she and her body servant run away into the countryside, cleverly evading capture until they end up at this little village where they stay for a while. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to either of them, the girl is being pursued by, one, the guy that she was supposed to marry, who is not a crusty old man, but in fact a handsome prince, and two, an assassin sent to kill her, so the alliance cannot go forward. And these two men, not knowing who each other are, encounter her in this town, and the story sort of just goes on from there. And that sounds like a really enticing premise, doesn't it? The premise of this book really drew me in. But I knew from reviews and such that the premise was not enough to save it. So let's see what we thought here. The beginning was okay, but it soon became pretty bland. I mean, it is a pretty classic story. The princess doesn't want to get into an arranged marriage. I mean, we've all written it, right? I mean, I've written it. But interesting things can be done with it, and it's not necessarily a trope that I'm sick of seeing yet. So, you know, she doesn't want to get married to this crusty old man. She runs away with her body servant, and they seem like they do an okay job of evading capture, and honestly it seems like nobody really cares where she goes anyway. The main character is so much the not like other girls trope. She doesn't, like, I don't think ever outright say it in her head, but it is really, really heavily implied in everything that she does. She is so not like other princesses. Other princesses are delicate. Other princesses don't know how to work hard. Other princesses couldn't live this life, but our main character, she just takes to this peasant life. She just, you know, works hard and does all these things while also being flawlessly beautiful at the same time, like other princesses and other girls could never do. She's just the best one. I expected this book to be a little bit more active. I don't know why I had in my head from reading the blurb that she would maybe be like continuing to be on the move while these two guys were like pursuing her, interacting with her. I thought perhaps in her flight from her kingdom she would be like moving with a caravan and maybe encountering these guys or something. But instead, we spent a lot of time in this village where she just gets a job as a waitress in a, like, tavern. We watch her do that for an incredibly long amount of time, and these guys, like, show up and are, like, hanging around this inn. And it's very slow. Now, I am not one of those people who hates insta-love. I can understand where insta-love is coming from sometimes. Sometimes it's just kind of a love at first sight kind of thing, an infatuation. And it can grow from there, because you can have a crush on someone at first sight, you know, and maybe these less experienced characters classify it as love. But this insta-love is some of the worst insta-love I have seen, like, ever. Both of these guys see this girl once, and are just straight up willing to abandon anything else they have going on in their life for this woman. It is ridiculous. Now, of course, this book hangs on a love triangle. It's on the tin. You knew a love triangle was coming. And I can enjoy a love triangle occasionally. Like, if I know there's gonna be one, I'm braced for it. I can just sit back, get ready to enjoy the cheese, and prepare to ship the guy of my liking. You know, it can be fun. But love triangles don't work when the dudes are the same person. I swear, fight me. These two guys are exactly the same. Just having a different background and slightly different looks does not make your characters individual and different enough. Like, we got both of their points of view, and they were so the same that, like, if I tuned out and zoned back in, which did happen a couple of times because I was so bored, I couldn't tell whose head I was in because they are the same man. I couldn't enjoy shipping one of them with her. I was like, either one, whatever girl, whichever one you want, because they are literally the same. Also, why are these two guys hanging around here? Again, it's the insta-love problem. They're both just like drawn to this girl inexplicably and so much that they will like, we will defend her with our life and I'll be jealous of this other guy who also clearly likes her. It could have been stronger if they were two different, distinct people, and so much more could have been done with the assassin especially. Like the prince, whatever, he's a prince, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. But the assassin is on a mission, and why not have him try to assassinate her a couple of times and maybe fail, or, you know, give him some reason to like hang around. Aside from the rest of his assassin guild is off doing something else. He's got enough time to just faff around doing nothing with this girl whom he inexplicably suddenly loves. And it's just, it did nothing for me. Like, let this guy come to try to assassinate her, let him try a couple of times and slowly fall in love with her. And then, you know, go from there. Instead he's like, no, I just love her. I just love her and I can't assassinate her now. Dude, you have known her for 10 minutes. You are the worst assassin ever. The world building in this book is basically non-existent. We know that there are gods in this world and people worship them, but like why and what do the gods do? We get a few times of like how they worship, but you don't understand anything about the gods. You don't know about the gods, their relationship with the people, none of it. And there are a couple of world building things that we writers all need to look out for, especially when we are writing fantasy. And these are little things that can really make or break your world building and your suspension of disbelief in your story. Because if you include these things, a canny writer might notice, and then that brings up all kinds of questions that you probably did not mean to raise. Both of these things are mentioned offhandedly in this book. Once our character mentions planets. Not stars, but planets, which means that they have an understanding of planets, which of course makes you wonder, are they studying the planets? Do they have like telescopes? How do they know that there are planets and stars? I'm very curious about this now. And I don't think that was a question that the author ever meant to raise. So you kind of have to be careful about that kind of thing. You wonder, are they on Earth or are they on a different planet? Do they have different, can they see from their planet different planets that we can see? There's all these questions that one little thing can potentially raise, especially if your reader is bored, like I was. Also, they offhandedly mention hell, but since we don't really know anything about their gods, we have no idea if they believe in hell, what is hell for them, do they have a devil? Just things like this that can really put cracks in your world building that you have to be careful about. And it usually comes up in character dialogue. Well, you'll have a character say something offhandedly that you don't even think about because it's just in your vernacular as a writer that just kind of puts a crack in your world building. Now, these things are not make or break. These things won't destroy your book, but for certain readers, especially if they're bored, it can really raise a bunch of questions and make you look like a sloppy writer. At one point, I hate this cliche as well, at one point, one of the girlfriend throws up and everyone is like, OMG, she's gotta be pregnant. Spoilers, of course she is. You know, women throw up for other reasons. Food poisoning exists. Like, what is this big cliche where it's like, she threw up, she must be pregnant? Why? So throughout the book, we are sort of very vaguely hinted at that our main character might have the gift, this special power that she's supposed to have inherited from her mother, which is why people want to marry her at all. However, it takes a long time into the book before we even find out what this gift is supposed to be. How hard would it have been to explain what it's supposed to be near the beginning? Not hard at all is what I'm saying. A great deal of this book is spent trying to obfuscate which of the guys is which from the reader. Like, we're not supposed to know which is the assassin and which is the prince until the end when it is revealed. And I feel like it's a waste of time, especially since these guys are so similar. Just let us know which is the assassin and which is the prince. The main character doesn't have to know. I think it would be actually more entertaining for the reader if we knew and we were watching them trying to conceal that from her, from each other, all that shit. It's a one big game of, okay, is the author making a character do this or behave this way or have these certain scars because it is this character, or because the author is trying to make you think that this is the assassin when it is the prince. And it became pretty obvious when the author was trying to be like, ho, believe that this one is the assassin, and you're sitting there going, oh, that one's clearly the prince, because you want us to believe so much that it is the assassin. I also think it would have made it stronger if we didn't even have the point of view of the two boys at all. Let their actions show who they are as characters, let them get to know the girl in a more natural way, and like, if you don't want us to know who's the assassin and who's the prince, that's a really good way to do it. Leave their point of views out of it entirely. It would have made a stronger book in my opinion. I think my favorite relationship in this book is between the main character and her brother, and he just shows up to spout exposition and then leave. So that just tells you something, that that is my favorite relationship. And then there are Romani. Just Romani. They're called something else. Did I write down what they were called? No, I didn't even write down what they were called. But they exist to be mystical and to help our main character on her way. And like, I'm not an expert, but it feels really poorly done. It feels really cultural appropriation-y, and I didn't like any of it. I don't even remember this happening, but I have written down the main character gets sexually assaulted and literally brushes off like nothing even happened. Just, as we know, something I have a problem with. If you're going to have assaults in your story, then it has to matter. Otherwise, don't include it in your story. Please and thank you. So for the most part, our main character is without flaws, but I did eventually find one. Her main flaw is that she thinks that hers and her family's pain is the most important pain and the toughest, and so she's really very self-centered in that way. Well, I know you're suffering, but what about my suffering? And you know what? I'm okay with it. She finally has a flaw. I don't even care. And then there was a last-minute prophecy/chosen one, and it was just, the ending was just a setup for the next book, and I am officially out. I am officially done. I am not a fan, as you all know. I hate chosen ones. I am not a fan of prophecies, and this book did nothing to endear itself to me, and the main character, who I was supposed to like give a second chance because she was supposed to be like the best bit, did nothing for me. So I'm sorry, Kiss of Deception, but no. Pass. What did you think? Is Kiss of Deception one of your favorite books? Maybe even a guilty pleasure read? Comment below and let me know why and what you got from it that I might be missing. Everyone, remember that I post new videos Mondays and Fridays. And I've been doing this for quite a long time, so my channel has a ton of content. So if you like this and you want to see more like this, definitely just wander around my channel for a while. And if you like this but wish it was higher quality, you can support me on Patreon, where all the donations are going towards getting me better equipment, because I desperately need it. And I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye! Hey everybody, it is shout out time. Time for me to shout out to my amazing patrons, Kim, Sarah, and Savvy Panda. So if you want to be cool like these great people, then become my patron over on Patreon.